Hey there, Zandom here with another D&D 5th edition Basics. This time I'm going to be explaining how to build a Druid character. So first let's start off with what the Druid is, what they can do, and what their role is in the party. So, a Druid is pretty much a nature mage. They use Wisdom as their main casting ability. However, to make them unique from other casters, they also, at second level, gain the ability to wild shape, which turns them into animals. They can't cast spells when they're in animal form, but this also makes them very tanky because their health pool is effectively increased by however much that animal has, because whenever they can hold the animal form, and however much damage they take in animal form does not translate over into your normal form. So you can effectively take a lot of hits for the party, while also you can also choose to be a powerful caster, and while they aren't as devastating as wizards and sorcerers and the like when it comes to spell casting, their wild shape ability makes them very unique and actually extremely fun to play as. So let's get right into it. Main race you're going to be wanting to play, like I said, you're going to want a wisdom bonus. So I'll be going with a wood elf for this character. Some alternatives you could use are dwarves, surprisingly enough. Despite the fact that it might be a bit weird thematically, you'd have to come up with some interesting backstory for a dwarven druid. Humans make decent druids as well. There aren't really that many races that have the wisdom increase, so I'm just going to go with wood elf. Let's determine our stats with the standard stat array. 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. I will be putting my highest score into wisdom, which is 15. As a wood elf, you gain a +1 to wisdom, so that becomes a 16. I will be putting my 14 into, let's say, dexterity. It'll be good for dodging and the like whenever I'm in normal form. I'll put my 13 into charisma, my 12 into intelligence, 10 into constitution, and 8 into strength. Strength is not that great of a factor for a druid, and once you're able to wild shape, it pretty much changes your physical abilities, but not your mental abilities. Physical ones are strength, dex, and constitution, and the mental ones are intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So if you need to, you can wild shape into something like a bear if you need to break down a door or something. So that works. You don't really need that great of physical stats when you're in normal form, but it helps to have a decent dexterity nonetheless, just for dodging attacks. Let's see here. Dexterity, you also get a +2 because you're an elf, so that is also a 16. Those bonuses are a -1 for strength. Let me look this up in my book real quick. I'm quite certain a 16 is +3. Yes, a 16 is +3. So that's +3 for those. +1 there. A +1 there. And a 0 there. So, overall, pretty good stats. You have 2 +3s to start off with, which is really quite good for a first level character. You're not going to be that tanky in your normal form, but if you're going to be in close quarters, you're more or less going to be in animal form anyways. So that's not really a factor. Let's move on to the racial abilities. As a wood elf, you have... Oh, actually, as an elf, you have dark vision. Which lets you see 60 feet in dim light as if bright. And 60 feet in darkness as if dim. Decent ratio. I mean, not that many DMs really work that much with darkness, but yeah. Let's see here. Keen senses. Proficient in perception. Proficient in perception just means that you can put your proficiencies in somewhere else. Perception is normally very good to have. Let's see here. Fey ancestry. Is that how you spell it? There we go. Fey ancestry means you have advantage versus charm magic and can't be put to sleep magically. So this just means that you more often than not aren't going to be charmed and you're immune to sleep magics, which is kind of nice. There's also some thematic things like the elf trance, which just means that you have to meditate for 4 hours a day instead of sleeping. But I'm not going to go and type that down. As an elf, you know Common and Elvish. And as a wood elf, you have... Let's see. Elf. Weapon training. Proficient in long sword, short sword, long bow, and short bow. Not that great of a factor. I mean, more often than not you're going to be using magic instead of a bow, and maybe you might use a short sword, but with these stats you really aren't going to be using a long sword, which is based off of strength. Let's see here. You also get fleet of foot. This just means you can move in extra space. So you have 35 speed instead of the normal 30. This puts you at the fastest of all the base classes and races. Let's see, the initiative is dex based, so that would be +3. Just get that out of the way now. And finally, as an elf, you get Mask of the Wild, which means you can hide in widely obscured areas if natural phenomena is concealing. Yeah, so this just means you can hide in rain or in some light foliage or something of the like. And let's move on to the actual druid things now. So let's see here. Your hit points as a druid will be 8 plus your constitution modifier, so that means you will have a starting hit point amount of 8. Your hit die as a druid will be d8s. So that means you have 1 d8 hit die to start with. If you aren't aware, hit die are pretty much when you take a short rest, you can go and expend those to recover hit points without using healing abilities or anything of the like. They are restored after taking a long rest. Let's see here. For the Druid class features, you know the language Druidic, alright, and you have spellcasting, obviously, because you're a spellcaster. So, let's go and determine the spells now. So as a first level druid, you have 2 cantrips that you know. So let's have a look at the cantrips list. The druid spell list is in the player's handbook on page 208. Now you can pick 2 of the following: Druidcraft, Guidance, Mending, Poison Spray, Produce Flame, Resistance, Shillelagh, and Thorn Whip. Now, a number of these are quite useful. Druidcraft is the most utility out of all of them. It's more or less just used in roleplay. It pretty much tells you what the weather is going to be like in the future. It can be used creatively to attempt to commune with nature or something of the like, depending on how your DM would allow it to be used. Guidance, it takes up your entire action for a turn, but it allows someone to add a d4 to their next roll. Many people think this is really useful. I think it's kind of worthless because you spend your entire turn giving a minor buff to one roll. Just my personal preference. I normally don't take guidance. You have mending, another thing that's more or less RP. It lets you repair some things magically. Poison Spray, very close range, very high damage. It deals a d12 of poison damage. I think I'm going to take this as my damaging ability. Let's see here. You also have Produce Flame, which pretty much just creates a light, and then you can hurl the flame. You can only throw it up to 6 spaces, so not very far range. You also can take Resistance, which just, if I remember correctly, it gives someone resistance to 1 damage type of physical slashing, which is slashing, piercing, or bludgeoning. Not the best thing in the world, but, you know, it's a cantrip. Then you have Shillelagh and Thorn Whip. I think I'll also take Druidcraft, just for, you know, the thematicness. Now, as a druid, you are able to prepare, let's see here, druid spells equal to your wisdom modifier plus your druid level. So that would mean 3 plus 1, so that means I can prepare 4 druid spells. However, you only have 2 spell slots to begin with, and you can pick from the first level spells. There's a number of pretty good spells here. After every long rest, you can prepare any number of other spells. I would recommend taking Cure Wounds. It's always nice to have a little healing spell. Cure Wounds is better than Healing Word, but it's a melee healing spell. Not the best thing in combat, but druids are going to be closer to the fray than most other mages. Let's see here. Next I would get Detect Magic. I would only take Detect Magic if someone else in the party doesn't already have it. It's good to have one person who has Detect Magic at all times. Let's see, the next thing I would take is probably Entangle. Pretty much ensnares a group of enemies. Pretty useful. Doesn't really do any damage, but then again, first level druid spells aren't really going to be doing any damage. And next, you could take Thunderwave, which is really the only damaging druid spell at first level. However, you could also take Speak with Animals, which is a bit self-explanatory, as well as several other ones. I think I will just take Thunder Wave. So those are the spells you have here. You could pretty much just take a long rest, modify your spell list to go and change things to match the situation. But yeah, that's what it is for now. Moving on from that, let's move on to equipment. Oh yes, also spellcasting ability is Wisdom. Spell save DC, that is equal to 8 plus your proficiency modifier plus your wisdom modifier, so that would be 13. And the spell attack bonus is equal to proficiency plus wisdom modifier, so that is plus 5. So not bad. Alright. Now on to the equipment. Now then. As a druid, you are proficient in light and medium armors, as well as shields. However, you cannot use metal shields or armors. So that means you could wear hide armor and pretty much everything else. I'm not really sure if studded leather qualifies as metal armor, as it's mostly leather. That would be more or less up to your DM's discretion. But I would generally wear hide armor as a druid, as it gives you that the highest armor class that you can get, with really no downsides. So you can start off with a wooden shield or any simple weapon. I think I'm just going to take a shield. Gives you +2 to armor class. Decent. Next you get leather armor. So let's see here. For equipment, the armor here is here we go. If you want to look at the armor list, that is on page 145. The leather armor will give you 11 armor class plus your dex modifier, so that would equal a 14 plus 2 because of your shield of 16 armor class, which isn't bad. You're probably going to have one of the highest armor classes in your party with this armor. Now then, back to the rest of the equipment. Next, you will also get a scimitar or any simple weapon. I would just take the scimitar. Deals a d6 worth of damage. It's not really worth taking anything else. It's also finesse based, so your dex modifier will be added to it. Let's see here. You also get a druidic focus, as well as an explorer's pack. And within this explorer's pack, I'll just state what is inside of it. I'm not really going to type it all out. The explorer's pack contains 10 gold coins, a backpack, a bedroll, a mess kit, a tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 days worth of rations, a water skin, and 50 feet of rope. So, pretty much your basic adventuring gear, enough food to last you a decent time traveling, etc., etc. Let's see here. Let's move on to the background, and then we can finish up with skills. So for the background, you can choose whatever you like, really. I, however, am going to pick Sage. So, when you pick Sage, you get Arcana and History proficiencies. You gain 2 languages, and there's any languages you want. So I think I'll take Dwarven. Nope. as well as you could take Goblin if you're lower level. I'm just gonna take Abyssal, so in language of demons. Let's say this character has a bit of a dark streak. Let's see here. You also get, as a scholar, an additional 10 gold coins, a bottle of ink, a quill, a small knife, letter from a colleague, common clothes. Now this letter can be used as more or less, it poses a question that you have yet, as of yet, not been able to answer, so this can be an integral part in your character's backstory. So that could be very interesting there. And that's it for the background and everything it provides. So let's finish up with these skills and saving throws. You are proficient in intelligence and wisdom saving throws. Proficiency bonus is +2 here, so that would make that a +3, as well as a +5 saving throws there. And next for your skills, you can choose 2 of the following: Arcana, Animal Handling, Insight, Medicine, Nature, Perception, Religion, and Survival. Let's not forget we also have proficiency in Perception because of our keen senses as an elf. So that means we have these 3 to start with, and we can choose 2 more. I think I will choose Animal Handling as well as Nature. Why not? Thematic like that. And you add your proficiency bonus to the use, in addition to the little stat bonuses or negatives that are described off to the side here. So that would add +2 to each of these. So Animal Handling is a +5. Arcana would be a +3. History would be a +3. Nature would also be a +3. And Perception would be a +5. So this is pretty much it. This is what you get for a first level druid. I'm probably going to go back later and level this guy up more, seeing as though I'm going to be using a druidic character in an upcoming one-shot campaign a friend is running. So I hope to see you then. I hope I helped, and please leave a comment or with any questions or anything, or any statements for improvements in my later videos. Thank you and have a nice day.